So I myself am a Photoshop post-processor, but I have to admit that Lightroom has gotten a lot better in its implementation of using masks. So in this video, we're going to show you some of the most powerful ways of using masks to either get to a good starting point if you're like me and you use Photoshop and Adobe Camera, or a good finishing point if you are a Lightroom only user. Let's jump into it. So the first thing that I like to do in any scene is I want to dial in my color, dial in my tones. That way I know what we're working with color-wise. So when we have a scene like this where the colors are very bright, sometimes it's kind of challenging to see what colors are present. So if we just bring down the exposure a little bit so we can see into our sky a bit more and see the colors we have there, and then increase our saturation to a ridiculous amount, it gives us a really nice illustration of what colors are present. So from here, we can dial in our white balance with this crazy saturation amount. We can really see what colors are present. And then once we reach a white balance that we're happy with, we reset that saturation slider, reset the exposure slider, and now we're starting with a white balance that's going to be about right. Now it's looking a little bit colorless, and obviously this image was very much about that beautiful sunset that we had going on. So I'm going to go down to the camera calibration tab and add that saturation back with the blue primary and the red primary. And by doing this, it's a nice, natural, more tasteful way of adding that color back into the frame. So now we're going to go back to the basic tab. And when you have a high dynamic range scene like this, you don't want to do too much with global adjustments. The reason for that is if I lift my shadows and lift my blacks, it's going to really kill the natural contrast that's happening in the foreground. If we go back and we recover our highlights too much, it kills the natural contrast that's happening in that sky and we lose the drama. We don't want to do either of those. So I'm going to be very subtle with this recovery of shadows and highlights. Notice that I'm not pushing these sliders very far. We're going to do the rest with local adjustments. If I was to just go up and to create a sky selection, and you see how it's made a selection of that sky, and I bring the exposure down of that entire sky, it's going to start to introduce artifacts or weirdness down low on that horizon. And the reason for that is that that horizon needs to be fairly low contrast and fairly bright to look natural and to blend in a seamless way with those background rock formations. So what we want to do is, after we create this sky selection, we want to click on these three dots and we want to go down to intersect mask with linear gradient. Now this is going to allow us to combine a linear gradient. This is going to allow us to combine a linear gradient that fades out as it gets close to that horizon line, and combine that with a sky selection so this linear gradient cannot go into our foreground rocks. So now we can be much more aggressive with this adjustment because it's not going to go into our rock formations, but it's also going to fade out as it approaches that horizon line. And the end result is going to be far more natural looking because things down by that horizon line are not going to be affected. So we can fade this effect out. We can fade this contrast and adjustment of exposure out before it gets down to the horizon. And the end result is going to be far more natural looking. You can see if I just toggle this one mask on and off before, after, this is a huge adjustment. And this is, honestly, in a scene like this is one of those really powerful adjustments that gets it back to the way that we perceived it in person. We've reined in that dynamic range. Another little thing that I like to do is to have a subtle darkening in the lower portion of the frame. I like to do that with a linear gradient. That way the brightest highlights and the most open shadows happen a little bit deeper into the frame because you want things to be more contrasty and darker towards the bottom of the frame. That way it pushes the eye deeper into the scene. So let's just go up and create a new linear gradient. We'll drag it up from the bottom, a really big, subtle, soft linear gradient. We'll drag it down out of frame a bit. And we'll just add a little bit of contrast with this. And as we do that, you see that it deepens these shadows. Maybe we can bring down the exposure just a bit. Something very subtle and very feathered, like so. So another thing that we can do is we can really enhance the sense of depth by adding a little bit of haze and atmosphere to these background rocks, which will really help it in the way of making them feel more distant. So if we go up and we create a new mask, and let's go ahead and select objects this time, and then we'll paint over these distant rock formations, like so. It's going to make its best guess as to what we want it to affect. I think that this works pretty well. And now we're going to go ahead and intersect this mask with a luminance range. So this is going to allow us to control which tones are being affected. We want it to affect the deepest shadows in those rock formations. So we're going to grab the right side of this and drag it left. And then we're going to fade it out by separating this slider here from this slider. So we want this to be a nice subtle fade that bleeds into the midtones, but eliminates these highlights from the selection. So you can see I've really faded this out. And now all we're gonna do with this is let's just go ahead and grab the black slider and lift them up a little bit. Maybe we can grab the shadow slider and lift them up a bit. We're just opening those shadows. And if I toggle this off and on, before, after, we've just added a little bit of haziness to those deepest shadows. If we want it to bleed into the midtones a bit more, let's go ahead and fade this out a bit more, like so. That way it's really feathering out that selection. It's not just targeting the deepest shadows, but it's really kind of bleeding into those midtones. And the final result is a little bit more natural looking. So lifting these shadows, but allowing these shadows to be nice and dark increases the sense of depth, the sense of distance, because we have nice, sharp contrast close to camera, and then further away from camera, we have more atmosphere, and we're mimicking that atmosphere by lifting those shadows. So hopefully this can kind of show you just how powerful just simple intersections of selections and intersections of masks can be used to create a more natural result. Rather than working globally, lifting shadows and recovering highlights, using those same ideas only locally and only affecting the parts of the image that you want them to affect can really dial in an edit to make it look far more natural. Now, I process in Photoshop, and the nice part of Photoshop is that it has all of these same Lightroom tools in Photoshop in the form of Adobe Camera Raw. So I would do some of this in Adobe Camera Raw, but then I would use my personal, luminosity mask stuff, either in conjunction with this or to fix any artifacts that might have been created from this. So hopefully this helps, especially for you Lightroom users. Intersecting masks is really, really powerful, and give it a try because it's really good stuff. All right, thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next video. Take it easy, everybody.